ain't got you. I got a gal on the go. Don't matter where I go. She keep a ring through my nose, but I ain't got you. I got a tavern and a back end store. I got my number, 444. I got my mojo. Don't you know I'm all dressed up with no place to go. I got women on the right of me. I got women on the left of me. I got women all around me, but I ain't got you.
everybody. I'm back at the shop now. That was a great ride. The third day of test riding on this bike in the last 3 months. The owner will be picking it up soon. And it works great. I'm so pleased. On a major $20,000 build, you got to get it right. And this is right. This is the 4th bike I've done for this fellow. He's my best customer since I've been here. This is what qualifies Creighton as my best customer ever in my entire career. 500 Triumph I did for him. This was a total basket. Brought me half a frame, half a motor, not even half a motor. We had to source almost everything on that bike. And works like it looks. And then here's a 650 feather bed, slanted forward motor, converter motor mounts with Commando clutch cases. And here is Chopper Triumph. This is one of his teenage fantasies that he finally could afford to have me do. This is what this wedge of steel came out of the neck of that bike. Had to cut this out of that neck of this bike when he brought me the basket, and you can see it's still raked quite a bit. So the KZ Roadster here is Creighton's 4th bike. I don't think I'll ever have anyone spend that much money here and do that many projects as Creighton. My best customer my entire career. 4 motorcycles. This bike will be his go-to bike without a doubt. The smooth isolastic Norton Commando, and this 850 performs excellent in all aspects. It's the quietest motor, primary, and transmission I have ever assembled in almost 5 decades of working on Norton twins. Let me share with you how I put this bike together. We have KZ wheels off a 750 Kawasaki KZ. This front end, out of all my wheel adaptions on my custom bikes, was the easiest. The KZ, the distance between centers is the same. That means this wheel fit right on here with no spacing or modifying or machining of the hub. Everything bang on, dead center, beautiful. Some spacer work, no doubt. And I had to weld these tabs on here onto the axle caps to accommodate the Norton factory brackets. So the KZ fork sliders, KZ fork tubes, and we have triple trouble fork bellows. And then we have the Norton steering yokes and the Norton headlight mounts and headlight and gauge holders, reservoir and levers, the best levers ever out of England from Lucas, right here, the best switching. Those are the best. Air assist forks, and stiffen them up, put some air in there. So adapting this double disc front end, relatively easy. They're same center to center. Here's what you have to do though. Here's the Norton triple tree. They have to be bored out because the Suzuki fork tubes are bigger than the Norton ones. So the lower tree, you got to machine it out here. Then you have to machine out this recess. It's where the headlight bracket stays, because the headlight brackets have to be split open and then shoved over a larger piece of tubing so they fit over the larger Suzuki or Kawasaki fork tube. And then you weld them back up. So give a little extra because the weld will pull them back together. Then they fit in there. You machine this out to the new size. So you don't machine this part until you resize these so you get it right. Because when this pinches down, it pinches down on the fork tube and on these. Now the top tree, same deal. This recess here has to be redone to accommodate the larger diameter here. And then you have to machine straight down to abutment, 90-degree abutment, because the fork tube fits straight up against that abutment, right in there, boom, like that. And then here's some modified Norton nuts that I've modified. These, of course, thread into the Suzuki fork nuts that are inside the tube, or the Kawasaki that are inside the tube. This thread here is a 1/2 inch fine, and you thread the Kawasaki fork nut 1/2 inch fine, then it draws the fork up against the abutment. So that's how you, oh, and here, these are cut out because I raised up the gas tank on the Norton. If you want a cooler look on your Norton, raise your Roadster tank at least 5/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch front to back. I'm not kidding, but if you do, you got to cut out this triple tree. Anyway, that's what's involved in putting Kawasaki forks or any of these Japanese forks on your Norton. This machining, the same process, whether it's the Ninja, the Suzuki, or the KZ. All the same, machine all this out, enlarge these, same process. And in case you're wondering who did that, well, I did that all in-house here at Redline on my 1/2 inch drill press. Yeah, all this tricky machining, beautifully done. You see it's right on center. Well, the castings are not perfect, but they are now because I center everything up. On my 1/2 inch drill press, how did I do that? Made up this tool, lathed up a simple piece of steel I should say, with tool bit mounted. Set screws, boom, 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 and away we go. Very slowly but surely, get it all done. There you go, more than you wanted to know. Moving right along. The styling on this front end: chrome, paint, chrome, and the bellows, and then paint. Painted headlight. This is my styling concept. It's 50s, 60s thing, but I've been using it for, well, since the 60s, for almost 5 decades. It's on all of my bikes. Polishing the steering yokes that smooth is quite a trick. Pay a lot of money at a chrome shop these days for that, if you're lucky to get back a motorcycle part. The fender, stainless brace right here. So anyway, that's the front end and how you go about putting a KZ wheel on here. Oh, look at that. Chrome shroud on the reflector. Luxury item. That gives it that fine finish. And what do we got here? Crossmember right here. Now, you might have seen cross members halfway down the frame. Ridiculous. Look terrible. They don't do anything either. The idea is you're trying to extend the rigidity of the neck. The neck right here. You could extend that so the neck is further down. So put your cross tube here, across here. Now you've sort of extended the rigidity of the neck to here. So the down tubes, in theory, start here, not up here. So that's where the added rigidity comes in. When you're putting it cross tube down here, it still can do the flexing up here. You get it? This one's a bit low. This is the first one I ever did. On my other bikes, I've raised it up about 1 inch. Plus there's cross members to my oil tank in the frame. This is not oil tank in the frame. That was just a simple exercise. Other than that, stock motor. Another thing I take pride in is the hardware I use. Everywhere on this bike is stock Norton or polished stainless where acceptable, like the 5/16 carb nuts, polished stainless. 5/16 Allen heads, polished stainless. polished stainless here. Other than that, all the factory CAD, factory blasted wire brushed cylinder head. But what I take pride in is the insignias on the bolt heads. Matching them up, as you can see. And on the front end here, well, we have the Suzuki stuff, or the Kawasaki hardware, of course. And then we have polished stainless here. Oh, here, super rare factory chrome hex bolts with insignia. Matching set all the way around, thank you. Riveted properly to the stainless Crossmember. There's your hose junction, your Kawasaki hose junction. So, the hardware I take pride in. And on the rest of the bike, here's the S exhaust system into one of my 2-into-1 junctions here, into an inexpensive Dunstall. I looked for carbon fiber, but all I could find was $800 ones. Bolt heads matching up, you see here. There you go, the factory bolt head. Matching to that one with a bit of grease on it. Even these nuts and washers are the perfect factory, exactly correct. Those nuts have the little dots stamped in them, which you can't see because they're not turned up facing us. More matched up bolt heads. Everything is proper, everything, and that's what I really take pride of here. Here we have the rear wheel. Okay, let's talk about putting this rear wheel on the Norton swing arm. The Norton swing arm is much narrower than the Kawasaki one that this wheel came off of. So the trick is this cush drive hub here has to be modified. This face here where the sprocket goes up against, machined down so the sprocket fits further inwards, machined so the sprocket fits closer to the center of the wheel. Then the bearing housing here, machined, so the sprocket is in as far as you can put it without compromising the integrity of the hub. The idea is you have to get this sprocket face a distance from the inside of this swing arm plate, which is about 3/8 or 5/16. You have to confirm that. And how you do it is by machining this cush drive hub. Make your measurements. Pretty tricky. Now, you have to make sure the center of the wheel, boom, is centered to the frame. And there's no lacing to get it there. So that has to be taken into consideration when you're doing the machining of this cush drive. Are you moving that wheel all the way over? Is this sprocket the correct distance from the face on the inside? Boom, get that on center, get this sprocket the correct distance, you've done it. Over on this side, all you do here, there's no machining required here, nothing, no spacers. You take this caliper mount and you take a big chunk off of this side of the flange. It's got about 1/4 inch you take off. And of course then you're shortening the axle and turning it into a Norton axle actually. I forgot how I turned that into a Norton axle, but anyway, you get it. The fitting the rear wheel is all about lathing the cush drive. So all these components fit in a different position, including the wheel centered and the chain exactly where it had fit originally. The brake arm here, factory Norton pedal, factory Norton cable. And look, here's the mechanism off the rear drum mechanical brake arm, even with the clevis pin that came on the rear brake drum. Now I've got that pivoting on the other end, and then you can see there, see that clevis? That stock hardware type clevis, nicely polished and chromed and fitted. It is touching, here's the reservoir here, mounted right here. The Kawasaki reservoir, and you can see the plunger right there, pushing on it. So there you go, it's a vertically mounted Kawasaki reservoir, and under the seat here is the cup for the brake fluid. Very nice and clean and working beautifully. Way more powerful than it needs to be actually, so look out. Alrighty, what else we got? Well, we got our stainless air cleaner by Colin Kelly. Comes polished stainless. except for the edge. The edge comes raw, and it takes quite a bit of work to clean it up on both plates and then get it polished, blended with the rest of it. Quite a bit of work, Colin. Step up. Okay, moving right along, we have a factory Norton here. Right down to the bolt insignias being exactly correct everywhere you look. Exactly matching, correct. Oh, there are some of those little dots. Can you see them on the 5/16 there? Right there. Yeah, they're on all the nuts. Proper bolt going through there. And more matching up hardware. Look at those, the shock bolts. Moving right along. All finished factory. Except, like I say stainless here. These are cheesehead. Exactly what factory had. Polished stainless, so when you rub this case, polish this case, you would just be polishing the cat off if they were factory. But with the polished stainless, you just shine them up, they don't rust. Beautiful. That's why stainless is preferred in this position. Wherever you're shining something up, it should be stainless. Or wherever it needs a little bit of twinkle, like on this carburetor, some stainless nuts, stainless Allen heads here. That's the factory finish, other than these stainless little bits of twinkle. I did not paint this bike. This was sublet paint job, which is decent, although, yeah, anyway. See that huge hose? I fill that full of thick oil, thick motor oil. You see right here, you can fill it right there. And then it's total loss system, but the swing arm stays lubed. That's what I use in all my swing arm lubrication, is thick oil, that motor treatment oil. And down below we have a trick here. You can see that cross member down here has grommets from right here. Well, you can't see. Okay, I think we've had enough of this. Yeah, so the owner will be picking this bike up soon, and I'm so happy it runs properly. Anyway, thanks for your time.